Right, hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's a Thursday, the 9th day of May, 2024. By His grace, we're live and we're here. We're at another edition of the show. Our gratitude to go to the Most High God for the rare privilege of being alive and, of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly. But let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. Legal challenge to LGBTQ plus bill. Supreme Court demands fresh documents. Climate change, Galamsey remain greatest threats to cocoa production. Panelists. Repose confidence in EC. Commission response to registration slip error. Please, that response to the slip error, did you read it twice before you signed it? 24-hour economy, key to unlocking employment opportunities. Professor Opoku Ajiman. The Ghanaian Times. Religion-based campaign threat to democracy. NCCE expresses worry. ADB presents 1 million Ghana cedis check to 2023 National Best Farmer. Anti-LGBTQ motion. Supreme Court grants plaintiff leave to amend reliefs. Extend limited voters registration. Professor Opoku Ajiman. Expedite payment of cross-border motor insurance claims to promote sub-regional trade. Daily Guide. Mahama fires back at Nana. Freddie Blay extols Otumfuo, no cause for alarm, EC. 3 arrested at voter registration center. Supreme Court adjourns anti-gay bill indefinitely. The New Crusading Guide. Baumia woos miners, promises common user processing facilities in mining districts. Ghana embraces sustainable building practices to combat climate change. Court reaffirms Nana Ngwa Anyema Kodom II, grantor of Adriana's 2 lands. Fast-track reconstruction of GTFCL. To open market for made in Ghana goods. Emilia Arthur. 2 nabbed over attempts to smuggle 130 bags of cocoa beans to Togo. And coming up, how a Lebanese scammed a Ghanaian businessman of $30,000, fails to install domestic elevator. Atrasako Western goes into hiding. The Insight. Socialist Movement Ghana calls for immediate release of 42 unionists detained in Benin. Why Saka MC, former Deputy Minister, blames presidency for death of Patrick Kumo. Dr. Mwakuban says AG's advice on Cecilia Dapa's case nonsensical. With 22% tax component, Ghana's LPG price one of the highest in the world. Europe afraid and NATO stand as Putin orders military exercises with tactical nuclear weapons. The Daily Statesman. Mining should serve our collective good, Baumia declares. Presidency response to Media Foundation for West Africa of audit report. Puzuri Group, NSS, partner to empower over 5,000 youth in greenhouse farming. Ghana leaps ahead in education equality. The New Finder. GRA bags 508 million cedis from pilot phase of VAT and invoicing. President declines request for full KPMG report on SML/GRA contract. Domahini eulogizes Baumia's humility campaign without insults. Supreme Court directs plaintiff in LGBTQ plus bill suit to file fresh motion. Daily Post. I will not protect your legacy of corruption and arrogance. Mahama replies Akufo-Addo. Supreme Court directs plaintiff in LGBTQ plus bill suit to file fresh motion. Cecilia Dapa case. Domelevo calls for a measure of OSP and IOCO. I sincerely hope that the EC makes up for the lost time, Nana Jane, after touring registration centers. And that's about it for the front pages. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning is the Deputy Communications Director of the NDC, Malik Sidwaya Basintali. I didn't know about this meeting. Malik, good morning.
Look, how that name found its way on the sheets. I suspect a lot of mischief.
Sidwaya. Is that a correct pronunciation?
Sidwaya.
Sidwaya.
Yes.
It doesn't mean something?
Yes, it means the truth has come.
Huh?
The truth has come.
So who gave you that name? Your father?
My father.
He gave you that name?
Yes.
The truth has come.
The truth has come.
Are you his first son?
No, okay. I'm not his first son.
So those who came before you, they were not the truth?
Yeah, maybe. I came with some special truth. Because one is called Pangabro, my strength has come.
Okay.
So...
That's your older siblings?
Yeah, my older siblings. So, I mean...
so
they have
each
special,
one and what you brought?
Each one and what you brought.
You
so
brought
I brought truth and light.
And light?
Yes, because truth moves like with light. Yeah, somewhat.
Okay.
I look somewhat like my dad.
Okay. All right, okay. So we'll be joined by a representative of the MPP pretty shortly. But if you're thinking of getting a toothpaste that is affordable, of top quality, and also able to take care of the entire family, look no further. The recommended family toothpaste is KEL 360 toothpaste, and this is approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. KEL 360 toothpaste provides you and your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. KEL 360 toothpaste is good for kids, children, and adults. Let your family be a proud family when they step out by constantly using KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste brightens your teeth, prevents cavity, and with its cool mint gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. For consistency and quality, use KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste is another product from Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasso. It's available in all supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. Call Samara Company on 0246 864798. KEL 360 toothpaste, happy smile. Enjoying the fruits of your labor is as important as enjoying the mansions of your labor. The pains of climbing the stairs when not exercising could be challenging for all ages. But worry no more. Lift and elevators have got you covered with the best portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators on the market today. It's a simple self-supported elevator for both homes and offices, and guess what? It can lift your goods too. Wheelchairs can fit in, and they come in 3 custom-made models. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days. Visit Lift and Elevators at Sakumon or just call them on 0200 535-515 or send a mail to elevatorsgh@gmail.com for consultations and the best solutions in easy vertical movements. Okay. All right. So exactly 23 years ago today, the most terrible disaster in Ghanaian football in history occurred. 9th of May 2001 at the Ohenijan Sports Stadium in a game between Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko. 127 people lost their lives, and this 127 include friends and family members of many of us. And of course, there are many who were injured. Some have still not or have been permanently impaired by the injuries that they sustained. And we kept saying that never again, never again, never again. But it's 23 years. And so on this day, we can only continue to express our condolences and commiserations to the families of this 127 persons. And of course, for those who also sustain varying degrees of injuries, some which have become somewhat permanent disabilities, we continue to pray with you. But the most important thing is that we continue to be reminded of this day and the fact that we do not need to do some of the things that we did that created this huge blot on the conscience of football in this country. Okay, so 23 years on, the May 9 disaster. Okay. Malik, where were you? You were in primary school?
Very young. I was young by then. I grew up to read a lot of stories around this and felt very sad. I'm happy that we haven't experienced anything close to what happened then. And I'm also happy that we really learned a lot from some of the lessons that, I mean, to an extent, that something of this sort hasn't repeated itself. That is not to say that we've put in absolute measures to ensure that this does not repeat itself, or if it should, what happened, the trauma that happened, the loss of lives that occurred will not repeat itself again. I mean, we've watched incidents where, I mean, football became slightly chaotic, even in our premier leagues, our local level leagues and what have you, where it becomes very wild to the extent that, I mean, the security will have to step in and all of that. But at least we haven't had anything close to what I read, I mean, about in 2001. And so many were the lessons that were learned. Many are the things that I'm sure will not repeat themselves again. I will only urge that very high safety precautions are taken, and our commitment, our growth in understanding some of these issues, I mean, continue to develop and develop. And we must also continue to educate a lot of people as to better ways of managing situations like this. Of course, May 9th was entirely avoidable. It was an incident that, I mean, if proper education had gone into, may not have erupted. As a result of one or two issues, whole stadium got chaotic, people attempted fleeing, there was stampede, people stepped on people, people injured people, and I mean, to our surprise, a lot of people who may have even lost their lives were not people who were directly part or directly involved in whatever had occurred. Sometimes I'm tempted to also lay one or two blames on the security agencies.
Yeah.
Sometimes the way in manner they engage in crowd control sometimes ends up rather dispersing the entire, I mean, populace. Similarly, we've had even demonstrations where people who were supposed to control the crowd ended up igniting or whatever the people came there to do. And sometimes I don't see why people find it very interesting or people find it appealing, just dispersing, especially these rubber bullets, using these water cannons and the tear gas. If you critically, if what I read is anything to go by, and Doc, you were, I know,
I mean, if you read the Okujato report,
right,
you would see that
absolutely. I mean,
the way the security
handled this issue, I mean, also contributed to whatever had occurred there. And so I think that as a populace, we must continue to utilize very legitimate ways of channeling our grievances. As a security agency, they must also, I mean, engage themselves and also try to utilize very appropriate means of ensuring that, I mean, the crowd control is indeed crowd controlled and not crowd, I mean, dispersed in the long run.
Sometimes it looks like we've really not learnt a lot. I mean, because we still see violence.
Right.
You know, and sometimes I don't know if it is about short memories or not, because some of the things that still happen is something that you don't. And I've always said that, you know, until the security agencies start dealing with some of these acts of violence that happen at football matches, just like violence anywhere as a crime.
Right.
People sometimes you get the impression that when it comes to football, there's a different criminal code. So things that you might not get away with on the street in front of the stadium, you can get away with it inside the stadium.
Right.
You know, so people go in there and they think that, oh, as for football, you can do whatever you want to do, and then you just get away with it. And sometimes you see the security agencies looking on and all that. I don't know.
Doc, you see, I think that we sometimes just try to pardon passion in this country. Not only with sports, but even with politics.
Yes.
I mean, people exert passion in different ways. And sometimes we just allow things to slide. There are things that happen even within internal party structures that if it had occurred outside, it will be treated differently. But just because sometimes it occurs within a particular space, they tend to pardon you and allow for some of these things to go free. I have watched football matches where spectators even attempt, causing harm. And just because maybe the security agencies or officers in charge are also lean towards same direction, they stand and they look on. There are instances where people encroach the stadium, and then you find them arrest the person and just take the person out. They allow you to go scot-free without any charge. And multiples of things like this usually result in things of these sorts in the long run. And so I think that, yes, we must find appropriate ways of managing curtailing passion. We must control and direct people as to how to exert their energies and things like this. But I hope and I pray that May 9th should never repeat itself. And just as Doc, you have it in sight, I don't wish to have anything of that sort at sight ever in this country.
Anyway, so, well, on this day, I'd like to also salute Mr. Herbert Mensah. He's one person who's made sure that this day never goes unrecognized, unnoticed, and does not remind us of this horrible, regrettable, and avoidable incident. So on this day, I salute you, Mr. Herbert Mensah, for all that you've done and continue to do as far as sports is concerned. And of course, this particular event, May 9. Okay. So your party is holding a presser today.
Right.
About the assembly, the limited registration exercise. Day one, we all witnessed what happened. The EC issued a statement and said, look, by midday, the issues had been resolved. There were network issues and all that. However, yesterday, there was another statement from the EC. Okay, let me just hold on to this. There was an issue that I wanted to discuss. This has to do with the SML KPMG report. Okay, that we all know that background to this story is that the Fourth Estate came up with an expose, an investigative material as far as the SML deal with the GRA was concerned. The president asked KPMG to audit it and then present a report. The report was presented to the president. The president issued a statement, and in that statement they told us about some findings that were made by KPMG. And then they also told us some recommendations made by KPMG. And then the president accepting these recommendations and what the president is directing the GRA to do. However, there's a lot of talk about the report itself. That look, the report ought to be made public for all of us to actually see that report and read same. Now, those who came up with the Media Foundation for West Africa and some others now wrote to the president, pursuant to Section 18 of the Right to Information Act 2019, Act 989, for a copy of the full KPMG report on the revenue assurance contract between the GRA and Strategic Mobilization Limited, as commissioned by the president. However, the chief director, signing for the chief of staff, acknowledged receipt of the letter, which was dated 24th April, and a letter dated the 7th of May. And it says, upon careful consideration in accordance with Section 5(1)(a) and (b) I of the RTI Act, I regret to inform you that your request has been refused. Section 5(1)(a) and (b) I states that information prepared for or submitted to the President or Vice President containing opinions, advice, deliberations, recommendations, minutes or consultations is exempt from disclosure, and that disclosure of such information would compromise the integrity of the deliberative process by revealing the thought process, considerations and influence on decision-making reserved for the highest offices of the land. The full KPMG audit report comprises opinions, advice, deliberations, or recommendations that are integral to the President's deliberative process and therefore qualifies as exempt information under Section 5(1)(a) and (b)(i). Understanding the public interest in the GRA-SML contract, the President has published the principal findings and recommendations of a KPMG report in a detailed press statement issued by the Office of the President on 24th of April 2024. Thus, the public remains informed while respecting the statutory restrictions on specific disclosures. Please accept the President's best wishes. And it is to Mr. Suleiman Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. So we have Mr. Suleiman Brahima joining us here for his thoughts on the response to his request. Good morning, Suleiman.
Good morning, Doc.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm sure that you have received this letter that I just read, which is also on our screens.
Yes.
Okay. Are you satisfied?
Absolutely not, except that perhaps it confirms an initial conviction that there was more to the KPMG report than the President wanted the public to know. And I was hoping that, given that the President has always espoused his credentials in terms of transparency and accountability based on the passage of the RTI Act, his office would have been the foremost office to basically comply with the tenets of the Act. But unfortunately, they have decided to misinterpret the exempt provisions relating to communications to the President to ground their denial or their refusal of the request on that misinterpretation of that section.
Now, Suleiman,
yes.
On what basis do you describe the Presidency's reliance on sections 5(1)(a) and (b)(i) of the Act as a misinterpretation of the law?
Well, so I think that what you read from the President's letter, they perhaps intentionally left out certain words which are very, very relevant. So if you read the section 5 itself, the one that they are making reference to, it talks about exempt information. And it says information that is submitted or documents that are prepared for the President or Vice President for consideration. So you see, in their letter, they did not bring up those words, for consideration, or if those documents would affect the deliberative processes or reveal the opinion or reveal recommendations or reveal the thought processes, or if it is information that would the disclosure of which would have national security implications and so on and so forth. We are not talking about a situation where one has heard that, KPMG has submitted the report to the President. Remember that when the President initially commissioned KPMG, the President gave them 2 weeks. Later, we were told that the President has extended the period. Then when KPMG submitted the report, we were told. All that while, one knew that it was not going to be possible to request at that point when the President had not made a decision, when the President had not communicated his decision to the public. But as soon as the President communicated his decision, not only did he say he accepts the recommendations of KPMG, not only did he tell us some of the recommendations that were made, and not only did he give directives on the basis of the report. So if the President accepted the report, the recommendations, and then gave directives, then you ask yourself, what again are they talking about when they talk about the opinions expressed in that report? Or when they talk about the deliberative processes of the President? Is the President now going to invite KPMG or invite SML or invite GRA to deliberate on the report? I suppose all those things would have been done, if it needed to be done, before the President communicated the outcomes to the public. As far as I'm concerned, the president has finished with the report. And so there is nothing in that, I mean, ideally or as it should be, there is nothing that should be hidden. In their own response to my letter, they say that in the name of public interest, the president decided to communicate the relevant portions of the KPMG report. And we are asking for the irrelevant portions. Give it to us. Give all to us. We've read about what you see as relevant, but just give us the rest. It's almost like the Supreme Court making a decision, pronouncing its verdict on a case, and then later saying, if we should put out the full submissions of the judges that informed the decision we made, it will affect the deliberative processes of the case. If the case has been concluded, what again would the judges, be afraid of in terms of putting out their opinions? So that is why it is clear that the president or the presidency is basically misinterpreting and abusing those exempt provisions to deny the information that was requested. But of course, that is why the same law makes provisions for an appeal, makes a provision for a petition to be filed before the RTI Commission, and even makes a provision for one to go to court if one feels that they've not been treated the right way. And I don't think that this is the right way to go in terms of the RTI law and its provisions.
Now, Suleimana, on the 24th of April, the presidency, through the Communications Directorate, issued a release. In that release, they told us about the findings made by KPMG. And they also told us about the recommendations made by KPMG. And they also told us that the president accepted the recommendations of KPMG and also directs as follows. So one may ask, what is it that you want to know that this statement does not provide?
Well, so the president gave us what, according to him, is in the KPMG report. According to him, KPMG's recommendations, for which he says he accepted and gave directives. And we are saying, well, thank you very much for letting us know what you think you should put out from the KPMG's report. But having made your decisions, having deliberated on the report, having accepted the recommendations, having given your directives, we would be happy to have the full report. Even if what you put out is actually the full report, just let us have it. And I think that this is not something that should be difficult. In the UK, not too long ago, only last year, when complaints were made against the Deputy Prime Minister, Dominic Raab, and eventually the Prime Minister decided to set up a committee and investigations were done, in the end, the full report is available to the public after the Prime Minister, made his decisions. And so in this case, we are simply saying, yes, we thank you for letting us know what you say KPMG put out. So let us have the report. Doc, don't forget that, as we said, first of all, public interest matters. Secondly, we are talking about a contract that is a multi-million, if not multi-billion CD contract. According to the president himself, so far, SML had even been paid, more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. And we are talking about a contract that the president himself says, look, for almost 3 years, there was no PPA approval, and yet they were delivering service. We are told by the president that this is a contract that the contractors were delivering partially, and GRA may not have even gotten the full benefit of the contract, and yet the state had to pay more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. So this is a matter of significant public interest. And therefore, if the KPMG report has nothing more than what the president communicated to us, basically give it to us. Or in their response, they should have said, well, what the president put out was actually the full report of the KPMG audit, and therefore there's nothing more to disclose. But I don't think that it is right for the presidency to hide behind those exempt provisions, misinterpreted after a decision has been made, deliberative processes have happened. The president has told us the recommendations and the opinions expressed by KPMG, and then turn around to say that, if we release the report, it would affect the deliberative processes of the president. It will reveal opinions made by KPMG. it will reveal recommendations made by KPMG. What are those recommendations beyond what the president communicated that the public shouldn't know? I think that is a matter of public interest. It's about our money. It's about our resources. And so I really can't understand why they think that they can hide behind those exempt provisions to deny the full disclosure of the KPMG report. It's absolutely not right. And I just hope that the next steps that will be taken would ensure that the presidency is directed to release the full report to the public. The JIDA report, we remember, 2013, it was MPP at that time that was clamoring that no, this report has to be put out. Eventually, it was put out. And at that time, we didn't even have the right to information law. And now we have a right to information law and a report that the president has already made his decisions on, communicated those decisions to the public, and then we are being told that if it is released, it will affect the deliberative processes of the president. And it will reveal recommendations and opinions expressed by KPMG. So one can only conclude that there is more to the report than we were told by the president. And I think it is important that as Ghanaians, we demand to know what is in that report. If there is nothing to hide, the presidency should just give it out or publish it. Otherwise, there's more to it, and we need to know because it is about money. And as you would have seen the other time, the processes for renegotiation and so on have already started. Unfortunately, the majority leader was even in parliament basically saying some of the things that the president even put out, were not tenable. That it is not a contract that actually requires parliamentary approval, as the president had communicated. And so this is a matter that we cannot just treat with kid gloves. We need to know, have the full disclosure, have the full report, so that we will all be satisfied that, okay, what KPMG said is indeed what the president has put out, and the directives of the president is something that is of national interest.
All right. So Suleiman, I need you to clarify something for me as we move on. Is there a relationship between the Media Foundation for West Africa and the Fourth Estate?
So Randy, I think this is important. The Fourth Estate is just a project. It is not an organization. It is not a media organization. It is a project that is being implemented by the Media Foundation for West Africa. Okay. So indeed, when we did the SML report, SML had actually gone to court. And initially what they did was to sue Manasseh as the editor and the Fourth Estate. And so we made them aware through our lawyers that, look, there is nothing, an organization called Fourth Estate. The Fourth Estate is not a body corporate. It cannot sue and be sued. They challenged it when combing at the Registrar General's Department and so on until they got to the realization that what they were being told is the truth. And so in court, they had to withdraw that application against the Fourth Estate, and the court actually awarded a cost against them, against SML. And now, perhaps, I'm just hoping that, as they told the court, they will do the needful, the right thing, by suing Media Foundation, which is the organization implementing the Fourth Estate. So the Fourth Estate is not an organization. It's just a project of the Media Foundation for West Africa. All right. So all staff on the Fourth Estate are Media Foundation staff. Okay.
So the editor of the Fourth Estate had this to write on Facebook. That's Manasseh Azuriawuni. Says, even when we did not have the right to information law, President John Mahama released the white paper and released the full JIDA report as well. The Akufo-Addo-led opposition NPP was the loudest in asking President Mahama to release that report, which was also a subject of my investigation in 2013. What is Akufo-Addo hiding from us? The SML deal stinks. If they think hiding the KPMG report will make us forget the SML scandal, they should think again. The SML scandal will not die, and those behind in the past and in the future will face justice, no matter how long it takes. Manasseh sounds frustrated.
Well, I mean, absolutely. He's right in being frustrated, and I don't really know of any patriotic citizen who would not be frustrated by this SML deal, because, I mean, as the president's communications itself revealed, This is a contract that until 2023 never had a PPA approval, and yet was awarded, contracts in millions of cedis. Initially, they sought PPA approval on 3 different occasions, and PPA refused. Because remember, this is a company that doesn't have any background in what they are doing, and yet the GRA was seeking to award them a single source contract. This is an offshoot of a timber company, a company that was doing, a timber merchant who just established this. And again, remember, the MD of SML, Mr. Christian Soti, until his engagement with SML, was a technical advisor to the GRA commissioner. So you are a technical advisor to the GRA commissioner, then a company is set up, you move there, and then you get a contract with GRA without even a PPA approval. And even when the approval was eventually ratified, as we are told, and even that ratification is questionable because we are not told what was the processes that were undertaken for the eventual award of the 2023 contract and the ratification of the 2019, 2020, 2021, 22 contracts, we are not told, and they get all these things done, and even with that, deliver partially, according to the president, as findings of KPMG indicated. They claim they have saved the nation some over 3 billion Ghana cedis. The KPMG audit, as communicated to us by the president, says that is not true. They've not saved the country the 3 billion that they are talking about. And so I think that every patriotic citizen must be frustrated about this KPMG deal, because we paid them over 1 billion Ghana cedis. For what? For partial services, as the president's communication indicated. More than 1 billion in a country where kids are still sitting under trees, kids are sitting without furniture, in a country where people are drinking the same, water with animals because of lack of potable water, and then we give away billions just like that. And on top of that, they even expanded it to include upstream petroleum resources and mineral, resources. So you ask yourself, what kind of deal? And I trust when Bright Simon says that this was a Japa repackaged, a Japa in a different dress, to just milk the nation. And so we should all be concerned, we should all be frustrated about it. And as I said, we should insist that the president should give us the report if there is nothing to hide. If the president wants us to believe that there's nothing to hide, he should just release the report, as was done in the case of Jida, as Manasseh has pointed out. So what is President Akufo-Addo hiding? You've made your decisions. You've deliberated on the report, made your decisions, put the whatever you wanted to put out there. So what is there to hide? He says the relevant portions. Give us the irrelevant portions for us to, read and understand whatever KPMG's findings that you think were not necessary to communicate to the public were. So I think that we should all demand, yes, it's understandable why Manasseh will be frustrated, because doing these kinds of work is not easy. Only for somebody to use his power to, abuse the laws and processes and say, look, we won't disclose it. I don't think that it is right. We cannot develop the country, with these kinds of practices.
So Suleiman, I'm getting messages from people who are quite conversant with audits, and the theme of their submissions basically is that an audit is simply a fact-finding mission. So what is there to redact? What is there to keep away? What is there to keep away from the public, especially when the issue is a public interest story? People simply can't connect a fact-finding, an audit, to something that has implications that ought to be kept away from the public. People are strenuously trying to find any plausible reason why an audit report can be classified as something that ought to be exempt.
Well, I guess the only possible reason would be that there's more than the president communicated to us. And I strongly believe that there is more than the president communicated to us. Because that contract, look, if President Akufo-Addo, in communicating the audit findings, would go as far as telling us, on 3 different occasions, there were no PPA approval, and yet they granted them a contract through the back door by giving them a subcontract through West Blue, at the Tema ports. And as soon as the West Blue contract ended, they then granted them the full contract with expanded services and so on and so forth. I mean, these are very, very indicting. And I didn't even expect the president to say the contract must be renegotiated, blah, blah, blah. I was expecting the president to say, look, on the basis of these procurement infractions, people should be investigated and possibly prosecuted. That is, for me, what is accountable leadership. And not that you flag all these procurement illegalities and so on and so forth. And when you end, you say that GRA should renegotiate the part of the contract with the same group, the same GRA that had indulged itself in these procurement malpractices, awarded contracts without procurement approval. You say they should go ahead. Nobody is facing consequences for the breaches. Is that the kind of leadership that we want? And I would say no. This is not accountability. This is endorsing impunity, on the part of the president. So people commit legal infractions, they go against the law, and nothing happens. What happens is you just say, well, the contract, go back and renegotiate it, and all the infractions that had happened, it doesn't matter. And I believe that is why the people are also expressing these views. It's an audit report. Put it out there. Let us know. The Auditor General, where he does his annual report, they put it out there. We all know. Nobody was demanding that you put it out before you look at it. You have looked at it. You've told us what the recommendations were, the ones that you want to tell us. You've told us, about your directives on the basis of the recommendations. You said you have accepted it. If you have accepted it, put it out and let's all see what the full report says. Why? What is there? What is there that the president doesn't want the people to know? I think that it's legitimate that people will be frustrated and say, but it's just an audit report. Let us have it and read it by ourselves. I think when the Supreme Court made the 2012 election decision, and basically in 5 minutes they finished, everybody was looking forward to what the full details of the opinions are, so that people will read it. Not because on the basis of that, people would say, okay, what the court did was invalid. So yes, the president has made his decisions, but let us see it. Let us see the full report. Unless there's something to hide.
So what's the next step?
As Manasseh is saying, I'm sure that whatever be the case, the KPMG report will come out one day, and we would all see what the truth is.
What will be your next step?
Well, I mean, the RTI Act provides for different steps, an appeal to be made. We can file a petition with the RTI Commission. And then, of course, if we are still not satisfied, we can proceed to the High Court. And as I said, the presidency is really becoming quite notorious in terms of, going behind some of these provisions to decline the disclosure of information. This is the second time that information from our outfit is being denied. The first was the cost of the president's, chartered flights. And then we were told it's a national security matter. How is that a national security matter? Telling me that the president has spent $1 billion. How would that affect national security? Nobody is asking, tell us the chartered flight number for the president's travels. That was not what we were looking for. We said, how much has it cost the nation for the president's travels? And then we are told, no, that's exempt because it's national security matter. And then this one, we say, you have commissioned an audit report. You've communicated your decisions to us. Let us have the final report, the full report. Then you say, if I give it to you, it will affect the deliberative processes. What deliberative processes again? The president has made a decision. So it's just, you can't just understand why they are refusing to disclose it. But certainly we'll pursue the next steps and ensure that our rights are vindicated.
All right. So Suleimana, let's move on to something. I saw your tweet yesterday, and I got a bit alarmed. And your tweet says that according to a Ghana Business News report, our government has procured multiple sophisticated surveillance and interception technologies from mainly Israeli companies to be able to listen to your calls and track your chats. This is a serious matter. And it came with some graphics on the mobile interception technologies purchased by Ghana from overseas companies. So you see these companies, about 8 of them. So I went to look at the Ghana Business News report, and they are actually referring to a research based on open source data, which is titled Mapping the Supply of Surveillance Technologies to Africa. And this is a country report on Ghana. And this was published by the Institute of Development Studies. And Tony Roberts is actually the editor of that research. And they say that Ghana has procured 5 kinds of surveillance technologies and all others. So they're talking about the capabilities include internet interception, mobile interception, social media monitoring, safe city public space surveillance technologies, and biometric digital ID technologies. And the Israeli companies are also named here. We're told that others have been sourced from US, Switzerland, Greece, Taiwan, and China. Now, my first reaction to this was, is this not a normal course of work for security agencies, intelligence agencies of any country? Why would this be a big deal?
Well, it is indeed a big deal because, yes, we all are concerned about national security. We all want to be safe. We want our country to be safe. We know about the developments around our region, the activities in the Sahel in particular. And therefore, we would all want our government to beef up its security in order to protect our nation and protect lives and properties. But when a government decides to invest so heavily in surveillance equipment, then certainly it goes beyond just the national security issues that we are talking about. Remember, not too long ago, there was this whole issue about Pegasus. And in every part of this world where governments have invested this way in surveillance equipment, what happens is that it is activists, you and I, it is journalists, you and I, and other people whose opinions may be at variance with government that become the target. And it is not just here in Ghana, it has happened literally in several countries in the world. And questions have always been raised. And we are talking about, equipment that can really, really do a lot. Randy, I mean, there was a conversation with a very senior government official in this country who said, look, given what he has gotten to know, and this person works in the security establishment, given what he has gotten to know, sometimes he wonders, where do we draw the line between, human rights, privacy, and the question about national security? Because we are talking about, surveillance equipment or surveillance softwares that can turn on your phone. If you have switched off your phone, it can turn on your phone. If you have switched off your camera, it can put your camera on and do whatever. Wherever you are, it can switch your microphone on. Even if you are having a private conversation with someone, it can switch your telephone microphone on and listen to the conversation. So we are talking about very, very intrusive surveillance technology, not just the normal, CCTV cameras and so on. And we are talking about technology that is really, really intrusive. And that is why these things have been done on the blind side of Ghanaians. It's not as if government announced that, oh, well, of course, there are certain things that government must not announce, but when a government is deploying so much intrusive surveillance technologies, we should all be very, very mindful, and we should all be concerned and raise the alarm bells so that at least we know that, look, our communications is secure. Of course, I don't mind if government decides to listen to my calls and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't plan evil things. But especially in an election year, as the researchers pointed out, for a government to invest so heavily, it's not just one surveillance technology. It's not the CCTVs that have been deployed, from the Chinese companies. It's not one Israeli companies. It's not, one Swiss companies. Multiple of them. And then you ask yourself, why is the government investing so heavily into surveillance technology? And we must all be concerned about our privacy. We must all be concerned about how intrusive a government can be.
All right, so we'll leave it here, and I'm sure that because it's a developing story, we'll get to speak a lot more about it. Thanks a lot for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Okay, so that was Suleiman Ibrahima, who is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show, I have Malik Basintali. He's the one who's brought the truth to his father. He's here with me on the show. But what does wealth mean to you? Do you want to live like a tycoon? Remember, I was God and Mullah. Got the power. Ghana's newest lottery game draws live on our Dome TV at 9 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. daily. Now pick up your phones, tablets, and computers and download the GamePark Games app on Play Store. You can also play on the website at www.gameparkgames.com or by dialing *946# on all networks. Just choose 4 numbers from 0 to 9. It's easy to play and easy to win. Shall I make we play this game and make some mola? Nobody beats our odds in Ghana. GamePark Games, more mola, more power. This game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority and is not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Ayesoko. Dako Sombo Dan be big, but Betway's cash out be bigger. Betway is giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and most reliable cash out in Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. It's not for persons under 18 and is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more. Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been on the Ghanaian market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins and nutrients like vitamin B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and energy, as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been tested and tried. It's indeed the best. Blue Jeans Energy Drink is for bold and active men and women. So go on, grab a cold can and power your day. It's in shops nationwide. To call Budget Cash and Carry Limited, you can reach them on 0208128190 or 055-001-0000. All right, so in my interaction with Mr. Suleiman Ibrahima, we spoke about Ghana Business Report, which speaks about government procuring some multiple sophisticated surveillance and interception technologies from mainly Israeli companies to be able to listen to your calls and track your chats. Now, I referred to that report and the fact that they also source a research which has also done a country analysis, that is a Ghana analysis on the issue. Now, Dr. Gifty Appiah is one of the authors of the report, and I have her on the line now to provide us a deeper insight as far as this particular issue is concerned. Dr. Appiah, good morning.
Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm great by the special grace of God. I hope you're doing well too.
I'm good.
Okay, right. Now, I've since yesterday, I have been extremely worried reading this report. And then I saw your name as one of the authors of this report. Kindly, for the benefit of myself and our audience, tell us what this report is about.
Okay, so the report is basically about supply chain of digital technologies in Africa. Now, that is to say that some CSOs in Western countries observed that over the years there's been some there's been lots of procurement of these technologies from Africa. So they wanted to know as to why that much investment into digital surveillance technologies. And so the Institute of Development Studies in the UK, in collaboration with African Digital Research Network, rolled out this research project where we were to try to find out the technologies that these governments in Ghana, in Nigeria, Malawi, and other countries, like why they are buying these things. So that is the essence of our report.
Okay, now, so did you speak with the government if it is to establish why they are acquiring all these things? Did you speak with them?
Okay, so the focus of the research was basically to look at digital technologies that has been procured. So it was solely desk research, where we go into secondary literature to find out what is already in the system or what is already published as to the purchases of these technologies. So it is now that we are carrying out a follow-up study where we are now going to talk to people who have been victims of surveillance, as well as speak to people in government about this. But the first research that we just published, and then you have access to the report, it was just desktop research.
So what did you find?
Oh, okay. So we realized that Ghana has purchased mobile interception technologies from 6 overseas companies. That is NSO Group from Israel, and then also Celebrate from Israel, Quadrant from Israel, and then Decision Group from Taiwan, then Tactical Devices from Switzerland, and then Intellexa from Greece. We also realized that this Safe City, Smart City projects that is being carried out, where you have cameras at various vantage points on our road. That project was also being carried out with assistance from Huawei, China. So these were the countries that we realized that they were getting these technologies from.
What are these technologies meant for?
Oh, okay. Now, ideally, these technologies are supposed to be used narrowly in monitoring, let's say, serious crimes, cyber crimes, and stuff like that. But you realize that because of bottlenecks surrounding laws on surveillance and stuff like that, because it's like, let me give a typical example. They use the guise of national security, and of course, if it is for the sake of national security, then we all support the fact that there should be some kind of surveillance to protect our lives. But you realize that it is now being used widely instead of it being used narrowly, and that is where the challenge is. Because with the follow-up study that we are carrying out, I'm gathering data. I've been able to talk to journalists, and they've been able to, from my interview with them, it's obvious that they were being monitored. Of course, there is no way anybody can convince me that that journalist is into terrorism or cybercrime or something that warrants that he should be monitored. You see, but the danger over here has to do with the fact that with these technologies, you don't need to even have access to the person's device or anything to be able to monitor. And that is the danger. So it means that without even contact with security agencies, they can use these technologies to monitor your conversations, to monitor your chats, whatever it is that they are interested in, they can monitor.
If it is for the deterrence of crime and the detection of crime, I mean, we should be excited, shouldn't we?
Of course, we should. But you see, Doc, you will also agree with me that in our context, we tend to abuse some of these things, even though it should be used narrowly. And if you check reports from Freedom House and all that, it is out there. There are instances where people are being monitored, and these people are not terrorists. Sorry, these people are not into cybercrime. So why are they being monitored? I don't have any issue. I support the fact that government is trying to fight cybercrime. Government is trying to fight terrorism by using these devices to monitor such people. And that is why I was talking about narrow monitoring. But if it is not that, then you extend it to ordinary citizens or investigative journalists or human rights activists or political rights activists, then you are abusing the essence of going in for that technology, because they are not into crime. So why are they being monitored?
So I'm reading a part of your interview, and it says, when viewed together, it is clear that the government is expanding its surveillance of citizens, and that it is doing so without adequate public debate, robust legislation, or independent oversight. What do you mean by this?
Okay, now, let us be frank over here. How many Ghanaians are even aware that government has procured these technologies? How many Ghanaians are even aware when it comes to digital surveillance of their private communication? And let me share this example with you. With regards to the ongoing study that I'm conducting, and then I spoke with an investigative journalist, and this person has never had any interaction with the police. But at a point in time, he realizes that whenever he picks a call, he's getting feedback from his call. And he became suspicious, but he was not having any evidence. So he never gave it a serious thought until he receives a call, an anonymous call, and this caller tells this investigative journalist that, you know what, you are on our radar. And this person goes on to say some of the private conversations on topics that he's had with somebody to prove to him that they know whatever he's doing, and he's on their radar, so he should be careful. Doc, what does this mean?
Right.
Now, it is obvious that he's being monitored. And you see, these technologies are sophisticated. Like a technology like Pegasus is so sophisticated. You don't need to have access to the person's phone or anything. So you see, so far as we have our details with this biometric ID, where fingerprints and facial features are already captured in the system, all we need to know is your phone number, and we can easily track you. And that is what makes it dangerous, because we don't have laid down rules as to how these technologies should be used in fighting crime. So let me borrow this popular saying: who watches the watchman? Who watches those who are using those technologies in order to establish for a fact that really they are using it as they should? That is, they are using it narrowly and not widely.
So you raised the issue of robust legislation or independent oversight.
Hello?
Yes, I said, so I see that you raised the issue of robust legislation or independent oversight. You make the case that both are absent.
Please, can you speak up a bit?
Yeah, I'm saying that, I mean, in furtherance to the point you just made, I'm saying that in your interview, I realized that you raised the issues of a lack of robust legislation and independent oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted you to expatiate on this.
Oh, okay. Now, first of all, we believe that in democracies, we should have structures in place to make sure that what needs to be done is being done. Okay? So, government is going in for these technologies. And if government is going in for these technologies, then it is supposed to be used in monitoring only cyber crimes and then terrorist act or act of terrorism. But you realize that we don't have any laid down laws that spells out that, with the exception of these two, or let's say any other thing that has to do with national security. And I even have a challenge with that, because when they use national security, they don't clearly define the grounds that qualifies to be considered under the umbrella of national security. So, without these rules, anybody can abuse these technologies and get away with it, because we don't have any checks to make sure that this is the boundary that you can monitor somebody, and you can't go beyond that. So if there is evidence of somebody going beyond that, then you can hold such a person accountable. We don't have anything of that nature. And we don't, you see, if you look at our surveillance laws, you realize that it is skewed in favor of the state than the citizens. I believe that laws are supposed to be made to protect the citizens. And so if you have laws in place that pays attention to only the interests of a state and neglecting our protection, then definitely there is something wrong. Much needs to be done so far as these laws are concerned. And even when you have a law in place, we need to have an independent body that will monitor and be sure that those who are using these technologies are using it within the laws.
All right, okay, Doc, so we'll wait for the second part of your research, but thanks a lot for the work done so far, and we also appreciate your time this morning. We know that it had to be at great inconvenience to you, but we are most grateful for doing this in the public service.
Thank you, Doc, for the opportunity to use your platform and then talk about my study.
All right, so we'll wait for part 2 of the study, and then we'll get to speak about it as well. All right, okay. So that was Dr. Gifty Apia Ejay, who's a lecturer and who's also the lead when it comes to the study, which is, of course, an international study, but they are in charge of the Ghana report. Malik, so we start off with SML.
Right.
Then we go to surveillance, and we even have an outstanding limited voter registration exercise.
All right. Doc.
Yes, sir.
I listened to Mr. Suleimana Bremer.
Right.
Very interesting revelations there. Now, this is the president's letter. The president received
the statement issued by Communications Directorate.
Yes, right.
Okay.
The president received the report on the 27th of March, the SML report, 2024. The president acted on the findings on the 18th of April 2024. And this letter was made public and known to us on the 24th. In this letter, the president stated that the president has accepted the recommendations of the KPMG report and has directed as follows. Then he lists I till the end. Now, look, when you go to the Right to Information Act,
yes,
You go to the president, in fact, in his letter, he quoted some sections. He quoted section 5. I just want to be very exact on it. He quoted section 5A and section 5, 1A and BI. Now, if you clearly listen to Sulemana, he made emphasis to the fact that when at the stage of the KPMG findings, they never insisted or they never requested the president to make any findings public. At the stage where he had received the report, they never insisted on him making it public. The reason why they are insisting on the report being made public is because it has moved beyond the consideration stage as per the right to information law. Now, in this, he didn't even highlight section 5(2). Once the findings had moved beyond the consideration stage, it now becomes facts. And because, of course, the audit report established there was a fact-finding mission. And once the president had accepted it, it meant that whatever had been stated there was exact and had become facts. In section 5(2), it clearly states that information which contains factual or statistical data are not exempt information. And so once the consideration gets to the acceptance stage, it becomes fact. And once it becomes fact, the president can no longer hide behind section 5(1)(BA) or section 5(BI) to hide the report. And that was what Sulemana tried communicating. I'm sure he left out that particular, portion of the RTI bill. And Doc, if we continuously try to use the right to information law, if we continuously try to use it to hide documents, to hide behind corrupt practices, to hide behind, opaque information, then it means that this entire law that we passed becomes useless. Because anyone can get up on any day and say a report was given to me, I determined that, okay, this was for national security reasons, I'll release it. And that was why in the wisdom of the law, it went further to state that once the report is accepted, once the information is accepted, it becomes facts. And once it becomes fact, it can no longer be considered as an exempt information. The question we keep asking ourselves is, what at all is in this SML deal that President Akufo-Addo simply does not want us to know? There are critical questions people keep asking. And Doc, I think that it's in the interest of all of us. Because one, this matter became one of public interest. This matter was pursued by the public. An investigation into this matter commenced as a result of public outcry and as a result of the fact that everybody insisted that this particular SML deal was shredded in corruption, was opaque, and could not, did not meet the standards of revenue assurances in this country. One, the company was formed in 2017, in February. The company commenced business in 2019. Before the company commenced business, the technical advisor to the GRA, Mr. Christian Tete, resigned and became the managing director to SML. SML claimed that they were engaged in one, revenue assurances, in stopping revenue leakages and underreporting, in checking fuel dilutions, in checking fuel diversions, and in ensuring that fuel that were transported from Accra got to their exact destinations. This was what SML told us. And in fact, as of 2023, it was on their website that they engaged in all these understated activities. Look, after the research, it came to bear that one, the NPA had already engaged the services of Rock Africa. The contract was signed in 2018, and Rock Africa was engaged to check fuel diversions. So what Rock Africa simply did was that before a tanker moves from the depot to its destination, they put what we call an electronic seal on it. It is only an agent of the NPA who can unlock that particular seal that had been put on it. And that particular process was being undertaken smoothly. And MPA confirmed that, in fact, in 2023, that ever since the services of Rock Africa was contacted, all fuel diversions had stopped and the seals were properly working, which meant that there was no problem. There was absolutely no problem again with fuel diversions. Then SML said they engaged in stopping fuel dilutions. Again, the NPA told us that they had engaged the services of a company called Nationwide Technologies to ensure that all fuel that was lifted and deployed could not be diluted. And all they simply did was that once the fuel is lifted, before it is discharged, the same NPA officer who checks the seal to unlock it will check the quality and standard of fuel that had arrived at its destination. And it was for no reason that, the fuel marking, the fuel marking was introduced so that we could always supplement the gap between fuel that were lifted from Accra and what was deployed there. Again, it turned out that SML had no business at all with fuel dilutions. Then SML came out again to say they were engaged in revenue assurances. And underreportings and revenue leakages were now a thing of the past as a result of their due diligence and good work executed. Then the NPA and GRA were questioned. Look, it turned out that there was a company called the ERDMS, that is a database, that is the Enterprise National Database Management System. Together with ICOMS, they had formed a digital platform where all OMCs logged onto. And so before you even go to the depot to load fuel, you would have to fill the form, you would have to meet the invoice requirements before you are giving your way bill to go and lift fuel. And so that system from 2018 had ensured that there was absolutely no way you could even lift fuel without generating an invoice and generating a way bill from the ICOMS and ERDMS services, which meant that SML entirely had no business in it. And look, in order to track revenue leakages, you need to track the volumes. It is from the volumes you'll be able to determine how much fuel has been lifted and how much taxes ought to be paid to the state. That system had been cured because ERDMS came on board to ensure that whatever volumes were lifted were recorded electronically, and as a result, monies were paid directly to government. So there was no cash and carry system again with regards to this particular system. There was no way anybody could meet you anywhere to even beat down your revenue. If you failed to pay the exact revenue of volumes you were lifting, the system will not even generate a way bill for you. And once you don't get a way bill, there's no way you can go to the bus depots to even lift fuel. So that system and it turned out that SML had no business in it. Look, now, to our surprise, SML told us in 2023 that they had ensured, as a result of all these exposés, that no, everybody was lying. And they had ensured that the government saved some 2 billion. In fact, that was in contrast with what the finance minister had said. The finance minister said they had saved 3 billion. SML said they had saved 1 billion, in fact. And that, as a result of due diligence, the state had accrued 1 billion into their coffers. Today, you and I, Doc, will agree that that 1 billion SML claimed they had saved were simply monies that were transferred into their accounts. Because you cannot claim to have saved government 1 billion and then at the end of the day, it turned out that you paid yourself 1 billion. Then we should have just left those monies to go rot. Because if you came on board to save government of Ghana some amounts of monies, it turned out that the monies that were paid to you were the same amounts you claim you had saved. Let's even use the finance minister's 3 billion. If you save 3 billion and you end up paying yourself 1 billion, which is, almost half, virtually 1/3 of what you had saved, then the work you came on board to do was a total waste, because you cannot save us money and we turn around to use same monies to pay you again. It doesn't add up. Aside all this, Doc,
you're better off losing 1 billion than 3 billion.
No, SML said they had saved 1 billion from their own mouth. It was the finance minister who said they had saved between 2 billion to 3 billion. So if SML's words are anything to go by, it meant that what they saved was used in paying themselves. If the finance minister's words are anything to go by, it meant that what they saved, they used close to half to pay themselves, which of course both statements have not been authenticated because the NPA has stated clearly that they had no business in solving the issue of underreporting and they had no business in revenue assurances. Doc, that aside, SML that was formed in 2017, everybody knew that, of course, it belonged to one Evans, who was a timber contractor. It started with about 10,000 Ghana cedis. That is information everybody knew. Why is it that at the time of awarding the contracts, the government of Ghana, all because of some dubious practices, refused to conform to Section 30 of the PRMA? Why? And if you go into the Public Financial Management Act, it clearly stated how such contracts needed to be awarded. The company ought to have, the document ought to have been taken to Parliament, you and I, parliamentarians, the public ought to have scrutinized it.
But
that was not done.
What details all this?
I mean, but it doesn't tell us exactly. As of now, we don't know how the payments were even made to SML. We only know 1 billion was paid. How did we arrive at 1 billion? How did we calculate? How much? How much were they supposed to take? At least in the petroleum upstream one, we know that they take some 0.75 pesos.
They're supposed to.
They're supposed to. We know that they were supposed to take that. We know that they were supposed to take that also with the mineral sector. But in this particular one, we don't even know how much they were supposed to take. We don't know how the computations were done. How we arrived at paying them 1 billion. You and I cannot tell. It is because we do not have access to the contract documents. And if Suleimana asked them, of course, if we all ask them to make public the revelations, these are things we want to find in there. These are things the president hasn't told us in this particular report. If you fail to take a contract to Parliament, if you breach the procurement laws of the state, Doc, I beg to ask, is the punishment simply putting on hold the upstream sector contracts and asking them to continue until you finally make a determination?
Okay.
Is that a way to resolve that? Haven't we been in this country where people were penalized for procurement breaches? In fact, people went to jail due to procurement breaches. What is different with Christian Tete? What is different with the SML? All SML came on board to do was to open an office.
Well, they didn't breach it because it wasn't their responsibility. But the responsibility of those who were working on behalf of the public.
Doc, but we've had instances where public officers were jailed.
No, you don't
with private
individuals. Saying that it is the public, those who work for GRA.
Right. And the finance ministry, of course.
It's their responsibility.
To have taken it there.
Not the company.
But of course, if you are a company and due diligence is not done, you are liable.
Oh, yeah.
And so you must be called into it. And so these are critical questions, Doc. We keep asking ourselves in this entire SML deal. But we have said that we will pursue this matter. You cannot pay 1 billion to an entity. You are unable to explain that to the Ghanaian people. You are unable to tell us how those payments were done. And you think you can go scot-free. And Doc, this repeated attitude of President Akufo-Addo to sweep corruption under the carpets and cover up and then clear whoever is involved must come to an end at some point in time. Look, you go back in history, and all the presidents can be remembered for is either pleading on a corrupt official to resign or asking a corrupt official to go and sit at home just to stop public discussion around that matter. And not a single action has been taken on anybody in this government that has been indicted for corruption. I think that they must begin answering questions with regards to SML. We want to know how the contract was signed. We want to know why the contract was sole sourced and why it wasn't opened, for bidding. We want to know why such a young contract company without any experience, why a company with just 10,000 Ghana cedis in their account, for a timber contractor was selected. We want to know how payments were being made to them. We want to know how they agreed that, how they agreed payments. And we want to know how payments were agreed and how they agreed upon payments being made to them. And we want to know the activities that were undertaken at the corridors of the NPA and the GRA. Because if you ask NPA said they had no business with SML. You ask the GRA and they are unable to pinpoint what exactly the SML came on board to do. And if you just oppose these two things together, clearly you would understand that somebody has a hand in this. And if the president is clear in his mind that he has no interest in this particular matter, they should make the findings public and they should let us get into details of whatever revelations were brought before his decks.
All right, so let's move on to the EC. And I said that I'd seen a report that your party was going to hold a press on a limited registration exercise. The EC explained day one that they had network connectivity issues. Day two, yesterday they issued another one. The Commission wishes to inform all its stakeholders and the general public that some challenges were experienced with the network this afternoon, affecting the online mode of registration. The Commission has directed its district officers to switch to the offline mode of registration beginning tomorrow, that's today, 9th of May 2024. The Commission apologizes for the delays experienced yesterday afternoon. The Commission assures its stakeholders that should there be a backlog of voters at the end of the 21-day process, the registration exercise will be extended beyond the 27th of May 2024 deadline. This signed by Mr. Michael Boydou, Acting Director of Public Affairs. And then day one thing that came up had to do with a slip of a person who registered somewhere in the Kaswa area with the district as Ayawaso North. And the EC's issued a statement. It says the attention of the Electoral Commission has been drawn to a registration slip circulating on social media, indicating that the bearer of the registration slip registered at Kaswa in the Central Region. The registration slip, however, gives the bearer's district as Ayawaso North in the Greater Accra Region. This error does not appear on the applicant's voter's ID card. It reflects on the registration slip, which only serves as a reference should an applicant seek to replace his or her voter ID card. The error does not affect the eligibility of the voter. We entreat citizens to remain steadfast and repose their confidence and trust in the Commission to deliver on its mandate. Okay, so when I was reading the headlines, this thing came up, and I asked if the EC read the release. They read it twice before they issued it. I think that all these explanations about appearing on ID card and not appearing on this is fine. But should it appear on the registration slip? The answer is no. If no, why did it appear there? You should be explaining why that happened. Because what appears on your registration slip should be the same as what appears on your voter ID card. So if you have a situation where what appears on the card is different from what appears on a registration slip, it doesn't matter that it serves as a reference. And that if the applicant is seeking to replace their voter ID card, that is where the reference will be. But why did that happen? You ought to be explaining that as well. But Malik,
Doc,
what are your issues? Why would you want to hold a press conference? I mean, these are issues the EC has explained.
Look, when the EC told us a day before the commencement of registration that they were prepared, what did they exactly mean? I want to know. When the EC told us, they granted a press conference and said they were prepared, and they had estimated registering about 622,000 people. What did they exactly mean?
They didn't expect technology to fail them.
So was their preparedness simply to commence registration and apologize every day at the close of registration? So far, the EC has apologized about 3 times. Within 2 days, 3 times, you have apologized to the Ghanaian people. Is this how it's going to continue? You thought we made you electoral commissioner to simply apologize to us after negligence? I mean, you told us a day before you were prepared and you were ready to go in full force. In fact, they told us they had piloted all their systems and everything was exact. Today, we wake up and we hear that we are gradually zooming into an offline system. Then the EC should have just bought registers and pens, given to their returning officers and asked them to go around writing people's names. Because an offline machine is as good as a register with a pen, a paper register. All you are doing is to write the name and number of somebody, and then later you transfer it onto the system. It's unpardonable. And I think that, Doc, we must set up to some of these things. We can't continue repeating mistakes of the past. In 2021, same mistakes were repeated. In 2018, same mistakes were repeated. And we are where we are today. Look, a petty error, like the sending of activation codes to returning officers in the Upper East region, took 24 hours. Why? Did we have to put the codes on a bat to fly to Wa or to Bolga? Your own returning officers couldn't get access to their returning codes. Even if we had put that in the mouth of a bed, it would have been in Bolga before daybreak. 24 hours. They couldn't look. There were machines before them, but they couldn't log in because they were calling their own boss in Accra to send them activation codes, and they kept saying they are looking for the codes. They can't find the codes. How do you explain this error? I wanted to see an apology on that. Daboya Mankargo, a machine was supposed to get to Mankargo. They called the EC vehicle. They said they had a flat tire. Later, they said they had overheating. Why?
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean, so you didn't have any plans to get the machine. You didn't have any backup plan. And as at 4 p.m., the machine was still not at the venue. What kind of overheating stays for 3 hours or 6 hours? I mean, very avoidable mistakes. And all I cry for is a young lady who traveled 15 kilometers. In the Yape Kosogo constituency, at Kagbarpe, the machine was brought and sent back, which meant that the first person to have joined the line that morning to register was the first person to go back home and register. And somebody like that will have to travel 15 kilometers again at her own expense. And you come and apologize to us. How have you met? How have you compensated the people who had wasted their time and resources coming to form a queue? I mean, very avoidable, unpardonable mistakes. Swaman, as of yesterday, dog, Swaman hadn't commenced registration. Swaman constituency. And polling stations were still seated and people were struggling. All because they said the machine was so slow and there were network challenges. No, Doc, on a day before registration, Jen Mensa told us, indeed, there was Dumso, and I think she's about the first public officer to confirm that we are in Dumso. She said there was Dumso. She said they had made provision for standby generators. They said, in fact, they had purchased and deployed all generators. Sanarugu, yesterday, no generator. Yape, no generator. Tamale South, no generator. Including Accra, Ashaman, no generator. At least, even if your generator was still in an STC bus on the way to Tamale. As for Ashaman, even if you put it in Pragya, it will get there within 2 hours. No generator at Ashaman. And you want us to sit here and still advise you, we must guard you, we must lead you on. This has got nothing to do with, look, MPP and DCU. It's about the Ghanaian people. It's about my younger sister who forms a queue to register, who left school, has 5 days to register. Day 1 gone, day 2 gone, her name is not in the register. How do you expect her to bear with some of these, challenges? And we've been paying all these people at the Commission's head office for only God knows how long. Huge budgets. They come to the parliament, they say, oh, we are bringing this budget. They come, they take the taxpayers' money, only for you to have apologized 3 times within 2 days of your exercise. And you are now promising us an extension of this. Who told you we needed an extension of this? We want the right things done. We want people registered. If you use 2 days to register 1 million people, fair enough. So you don't come and tell us we'll give you an extension of this. What happened to the one who spent money on lorry fare traveling to the registration site? What happens to her? Who gives her back her money? In this hardened economy where people, Medina, just Medina to Accra, you spend over 20 cedis on lorry fare. What used to be the price of dropping? And somebody will have to spend this amount, and you expect the person to do that about 3 times, and you come and tell us you're apologizing to us. For what? Now, I read this letter, Doc, and they blame. They said it was as a result of a data entry clerk. So the data entry clerk didn't see the things well. And that was how come a town like Kaswa was in a district of Ayawaso North. My goodness. And this is the body going to organize elections for us. Doc, what if we wake up on 7 December and then they come and tell us network failure? So the BVRs cannot, and we have to go offline. How are we going to cope with things like this? I have watched movies. At least, I haven't found myself in any of such countries. But I've watched movies and I've read books of how electoral commissions plunged African countries into chaos. And I've read about how those countries suffered for so many years as a result of the negligence of the Electoral Commission. And all they sit down when they do, when President Mahama speaks in Western region, they'll be first to respond to him, even before MPP. I think they are working more as an opposition party, than as an opponent than even the New Patriotic Party. When President Mahama speaks in Tamale, they'll respond to him. To the extent that, Doc, if you sit this morning and you speak, by afternoon, midday, Jen Mensa will respond to you. They responded to Bright Simons. And they keep responding to just accuse her. Within 2 hours, she'll respond to you. And they have limited themselves, reduced themselves into a PR unit. So we paid the Electoral Commission to engage in PR exercises for the people of this country. Responding, they said they are fact-checking President Mahama. You read the whole report to the end, and indeed they were rather fact-checking themselves. They said they are fact-checking Bright Simon. You read the report, and they are fact-checking themselves. And clearly, there is no direction. They just sit there, wake up, grant press conferences, go to IPAC, and then this is why the NDC kept complaining of a credible IPAC. Because you need political parties to share their experiences with you. You are a body, yes, you claim you are an autonomous, independent body. But you have never been on the ballot paper. The people on the ballot paper will need to tell you how to conduct the elections for them. And that is how come we have been calling for a credible IPAC where our sentiments could be poured out. This morning, Brekum East, I'm told tax, macho men were brought there. And that's one of the bases of our press conference. You see, the EC, the security services, the MPP cannot continuously take the laws into their own hands. Brekum, there are photos and videos of thugs moving around registration centers and terrorizing people. Brekum East. And all because of power. If you kill all the people in the line, Mr. MP, who will vote for you? Tell me. If you kill all the people, who will you rule over? Then you bring macho men to come and destabilize the exercises. And I dare the security agencies there, please and please again, set up. You are the referees of this country. You are the people to ensure that people abide to law. And I mean, then this is not deterred. Anybody could man up and face anybody. But is that the right way to go? We want people to register. Our business as a political party is not to deter first-time voters. If we wanted to deter them, then anybody could go there and cause mayhem. But the MPP has a plan. Look, and their plan is to deter first-time voters because the more people register, the more Alhaji Bawumia loses the election. Why? Your daughter who sees how you struggle to buy food, if she registered for the sake of the love she has for you as her father, she will vote against Alhaji Bawumia. Any pensioner bondholder whose grandchild used to come home and you give him money or you give her money will definitely register to vote out Mr. Akufo-Addo because they've not paid the grandfather. And this is how people are planned and have planned and determined to vote out this current government. But the EC is also determined to stop the people from registering. But we may see how it goes because we have standby plans and we have alternative solutions. And no matter what it takes, we'll help the Ghanaian people register onto the form. I know by afternoon the EC will apologize again because I've just been informed that in Tamale Dumso they have halted registration. I've just been informed.
But
now
the generator is not working.
Nothing. In fact, in the Western region, our MP even attempted giving them a generator and they rejected it. I asked myself, since when did we have generators now registering to be members of the NDC? If you don't want the MP there, what about his generator? His generator is only coming to give you light to, register people. And so, Doc, we must unanimously condemn the actions. It's unfortunate the MPP has left their seat empty. Very, very unfortunate. I don't know why, but I wish that they had come here so that together we will condemn the misconduct.
But the MPP issued a statement asking the EC to get its act together, put its act together.
That's why I said I wish they were here. So unanimously, we can condemn the actions of the Electoral Commission and then ask them to stop that interest play. And this particular game will not help. Whether you like it or not, MPP will lose the election in this year. Whether you like it or not, MPP will leave power and NDC will assume office. So it's incumbent on you to simply sit down and ensure a free and fair election so that we don't lose a single life. Look, the people who died in the last election, Techima South, Salvulugu, Zabzugu, and the rest, the EC never found interest in it to go out there and ensure that strict investigation were done. Not a single statement. In fact, what the EC even told us was that there was very free and fair elections. And whatever happened there were matters of security and not about them. But if President Mahama coughs, in fact, if President Mahama wakes up in the morning and is drinking tea and even discusses the issue with someone, they'll come and respond to him. I think they must be focused. And they must understand their mandate. If Jen Mensah has forgotten why she was made EC, she should go and read the functions of the Electoral Commission. She will know what she was mandated to do and ensure that they do it. And next time, they come and tell us they are prepared, and we find such errors, I think we'll put on hold the entire exercise and ask them to go back and do the right things, because people cannot struggle. Yape Kosogo, an estimated number of more than 10,000 people are expected to register. As of yesterday, about 20-something had registered. 20-something.
We still have 18.
Day one.
We still have 18 more.
Look, multiply 20-something by the 18 and tell me the figure, because from the look of things, we're going to be getting 20. Because as of now, this morning, they haven't started. They said network challenges. Tamale, Dumso, Swaman, Dumso,
but they've been,
Western,
they've
Dumso.
been directed to go offline.
And that's what I'm saying. Then they should just give them registers with pens to go around and be writing people's names, because the offline register comes at, comes with another level of discussion. You cannot be registering people offline. At what point are you going to transfer them online? What due diligence is going to be done? Have the political parties agreed within those cycles to go offline?
But
because it's a very interesting one.
It's always a plan B.
Well, it's been a plan B, but at what point did you determine that? Because the EC made us aware that at their district offices they were going to go fully online. At the various designated electoral areas where there are no networks, they may try to go offline. Now at the district offices, they are going offline. And the reason why the district offices were going online were that if they went to the electoral areas and registered offline, on the transmission at the district office, there will be a rep there to ensure that everything is done smoothly. Now, even at your district office, you are going offline. So at what point are you going to have the transmission? Is it at the regional level or at the national level? So it comes at its own cost. So look, they must set up. EC should set up. They should be focused. They should stop engaging and meddling in political affairs. Yes, you may have pension love for, the New Patriotic Party, but you are the referee in this context. And the NDC is determined to win power. And we will not win power with the EC or the security services. We are winning power with the Ghanaian people, because they are those going to vote to elect John Mahama president. And by the grace of God, nothing will stop that victory.
All right. Okay. So, Malik, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much
for your time. Cyril of 360 Service and Engineering Limited, today is your birthday. So happy birthday to you, Cyril of 360 Service and Engineering Limited. This is from Positive Change and Medina. So our conversation with the Minerals Commission will be on this morning. So right after this, I'll be joined by Mr. Martin Aisi, the CEO of the Minerals Commission, and we'll be talking about local content, and then there's some other interesting things coming up in the mining industry that would also spend some time on. This week there was that very, very exciting story about the lady who had been appointed to lead one of the biggest mines in this country, and I'm sure that a lot of people were elated about that. We perhaps will also speak about it, and that speaks to it's also local content. It speaks to the human capital of the Ghanaian in the mining space. So, Malik, thanks again for joining me. And up next, time with the Minerals Commission.